This week, we feature a very successful and multi-talented spiritual person. She has co-written and created over 80 books, audio programs, TV shows, videos on mind transformation and positive thought. The creator of Magnet to Success, she seems to be on a path of enlightenment to the world. I'd like to welcome author and musician Michele Blood to the show. How you doing, Michele?
G'day, Dylan. I'm doing
Yeah,
great. Thanks, sweetie.
awesome. Where are you joining us from? I love the accent.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
Australian, but I live
uh,
in California.
you live in California. Awesome, awesome. Yeah, Australia. So, when did you make the move to California? You've been here a while, right?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
First of all, I moved to Malaysia. Um, I was working there for quite a few years with Bob Proctor, and I had some hit records and things over there. And then I moved here in 1997.
Awesome, awesome. And
You were probably born in 1997.
no, I wish, I wish. I'm an old guy too. I've been around a while. So can we maybe get a little bit of your background of who you are, and maybe some maybe you could talk about some things that I have a hunch that there's some things that have kind of pointed you on this journey that you're currently on.
Yeah, sorry, I just turned you up so I can hear you better. Um, Yeah, I was a rock singer in Australia, professional singer since the age of 5, had a great rock band. We did lots of different rock bands. We that just did covers. And then I got this fantastic group eventually together and we started writing all these songs. We got a record label, Time Warner, started doing rock videos. And at one stage, we toured for 7 years nonstop. And I was the manager of the band and the lead singer and one of the co-creators of the music. So my job was huge. And Australia is such a huge place. You have to be very strong and disciplined and really on purpose to be able to handle managing your rock band, plus getting the road crew and trucks and everything. But I did the lot. And it was really hard, but I loved my life. I never wanted to do anything else. We already had some record labels internationally interested in us as well. So it was a hard life, but a great life. And I thought I was on purpose. I never heard about motivational seminars or positive thinking because I was positive. I was just having the life when you know that you're doing what you love to do and you're good at it. And the audiences eventually loved us so much and we loved them. And it was an incredible journey. But I had a near fatal car accident and I was in the passenger seat of the truck and we'd just driven from Brisbane to Sydney, which is like 12, 13-hour drive. And the truck driver fell asleep at the wheel and went into a telephone pole. And as the passenger, a lot of the instrumentation and speakers went into me. And I was, back then, I'm only 5 foot, and I guess I was about 90 pounds wet if I was lucky. Just a little tiny thing. And
Right.
so I had so many broken bones and smashed bones that went into organs. And I don't want anyone to lose their breakfast, lunch, or dinner, so I won't go into too much of it. But that was the most horrific thing that could ever happen to someone, ended up being the greatest thing in my life. So who knows what the future holds? You have to always have a positive attitude no matter what shit is going on.
Right. And when you say the greatest thing ever, so after this horrific thing that happened to you, what was it like? I mean, obviously there was some kind of transformation or something that was uplifting to you.
Well, what happened, Dylan, was there were long, long operations. The longest was 17 and a half hours. I was in traction for weeks waiting for the next operation. So my body was in horrific, horrific pain. And I didn't even have a chance to feel depressed because I was in too much pain to even know what was going on. And I was on strong pethidine and, nonstop drips and everything. And so eventually, after all the operations were over, the doctor said, well, it's miraculous that you're even alive. He said, but one of the doctors, because there were many different specialists, but he said, I have to tell you, I don't think you'll ever walk again properly. And as a rock singer, doing cartwheels across the stage and all my crazy antics, jumping on top of double speakers, and it was like, you'd think that I'd be happy that I was going to live, right? But I was even more depressed because if I can't do all my antics and the stuff that I've been doing since I was a little kid, how am I going to entertain people? Because I used to, it's the whole package that they like, not just the
Right.
voice of the music.
Right.
It's that what they love. It's like if Cyndi Lauper back in the day, if she couldn't do all her crazy antics, or if Madonna couldn't dance, you wouldn't be happy. But
Right.
anyway, so people started bringing me what they called positive transformational stuff that I'd never heard of, but they would put it on. And because I was on a steel bed with no pillow or anything, because while you're waiting to heal, they can't put you on mattresses or anything. I couldn't turn off these audio programs they kept putting on, which was so frustrating. I don't want to listen to all these people farting daisies and being so happy. Because you know what it's like and I'm sure many people can relate to this, if you're depressed or sad for whatever reason it is, legitimate reason in my case, or a legitimate reason because someone you loved just left the body or whatever it is, you don't like people being all uppy and happy and, like I said, farting daisies. They're oh. So I hope you don't have to bleep me too much. I am an Australian, so they're not curse words to
No,
us.
you're welcome to swear on my show. Yeah, I mean, we try to keep it clean, but it is what it is. If it comes to, it's fine.
Well, farting
You're
daisies
good. Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
too
you're
bad.
good. You're good. No, I don't think so. You're great.
So the one particular book did change my life. Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Someone put a cassette on of that, and I was like, what has that got to do with an Australian rock singer? This is all about, entrepreneurial men in the 1920s in America. I don't want to listen to this crap.
Right.
However, the chapter where Napoleon Hill talks about how he used affirmations, auto-suggestion to heal his son. His little baby infant son was born 100% deaf, no hearing, no chance of hearing. And Napoleon Hill, didn't stop him. He went into his little infant son's room every night for years. You can hear perfectly, son. You grow up to be such a strong, confident, successful man. People love you. You love people. You can hear perfectly. Everything I'm saying, every cell of your being is listening to that and creating beautiful hearing. By the time the kid was 4, he had 30% hearing. Impossible, everyone had said. And he grew up to be like one of the most successful millionaires in America in the hearing aid industry. So
That's a beautiful thing, ain't it?
it's so beautiful. But the thing is, when you hear something and you have a satori, a knowing, not just a memory, but a knowing. When I heard
Yeah.
that, and I'd never heard about affirmations before, I knew that this was true. I knew it was the first time I had, like, I don't like the word hope, but inspiration that I could do something to heal my body, not just rely on what doctors were saying or anything else, and to also heal my spirit because I was depressed and down, and I'd been a happy little bubbly thing my entire life. So it was weird for me to not feel happy, just alien. And so I started doing the affirmation. Okay, so Napoleon Hill said you got to say an affirmation that you want to have happen as if it's already happened. I am statement. Okay, I said I'm not healed. Don't tell me I'll never be completely healed. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. Oh, I've got a great powerful affirmation now because none of that is bloody true. So I'm on the right track. But then Napoleon Hill said in the book, but you must emotionalize it. If you don't emotionalize it, it won't go into the treasury of your mind, your powerful mind. Then your mind, it needs to be planted as a new positive thought. Then your mind will tell your body what to do to heal it. Now, back in those days, they didn't have all the studies on the brain. Neuroscientists, who were they? Who had we heard of? Neuro anything? We didn't know really about short and long-term memory. Now we've got all
What
those.
year did the accident happen? I'm sorry, I
80,
don't mean to interrupt.
87.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. You're
So it
right.
was more on faith and a
Yeah.
satori of knowing. But I did it for weeks, saying it over and over again, and it didn't work because my doubting mind kept spitting it out. The doctors come in and they tell you this and that, and I'm doing this affirmation. So I couldn't emotionalize it because I didn't believe it. How can you believe it when everyone's telling you the opposite? So, do you want to know how it ended up working so beautifully, Dylan? Do you?
Absolutely. Please tell us.
I'm a singer-songwriter. I had a real epiphany, like a major epiphany. I have to listen to it with music. So I asked my brother Stephen to go out to music stores, because we didn't have online shopping back then, and get me affirmation music. And he said, I looked everywhere and there's no such thing. So I was like, oh, I'll just write it myself. So I just got them to put the cassette player on. And how I used to write songs was always I would sing an idea that came to me onto the cassette, because otherwise I'd forget it. That's how.
Hello? Hello?
I love myself, I am my friend, over and over and over and over again until I'd fill up cassettes. And then I would just listen to it over and over again.
Right.
Within a week, I felt alive. I felt hopeful. I felt this is going to work. I really felt, but there's a lot more to the story, but that's how I created affirmations with pop music. The first person to do it. I don't know if anyone else has been doing it at all. I ended up touring the world.
That is fascinating.
And working with Bob Proctor for years. He ended up writing songs with me. Deepak Chopra wanted me to do one for kids. I did I Can Do It, self-esteem songs for kids, for just little kiddies, and just got hundreds of these songs out there all over the world. But that was the beginning of my spiritual journey and the beginning of why I say it's the best thing that happened. Because if you think about it, Dylan, there's no coincidences. Everything that I'd been doing my whole life, my entire life, singing, entertaining, being a businesswoman, being able to run a successful rock business band, you can do any sort of business after that. Being able to handle Australian hooligans that are drunk while you're singing and you're a woman.
Right.
Learning all of those things made it easy for me to be on stage and entertain all these people that were coming to see Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and all these people I ended up working for years with, singing at all their events and speaking at their events about what happened to me. And it gave, like Bob Proctor loved it because it gave it a whole new entertainment value, that I would have the audience up singing along, that they're a magnet to money, that they're energy. And it's very simple lyrics, great pop music in the background. And it just grew and grew and grew into something global. It was amazing.
So your music's literally helped people and healed people, is what you're telling me.
Yes, because the lyrics, which are the affirmations, go into the left side of the brain.
Yeah.
And the studies that have been done, I've got all the
I could buy into that. Yeah.
The right side of the brain is the creative side. That's music. Yeah. So you have a whole brain experience. It goes into the subconscious mind 300 times faster than just saying it or writing it down. And this is why children cannot get the ABCs out of their head if they learn to sing them. And this is why advertising agencies are very, very smart. They spend not millions, but billions a year on a popular song to go with their product. Because once you have those two connected, they are with you forever. So you start singing Toyota, or you start singing something when nothing to do with you. You don't even like the product, but you've heard the jingle enough and it's with you forever. Sometimes, unfortunately. So
that is amazing, because I'm a firm believer in the power of the mind and the thought process and all this, Dr. Dwayne Dreyer, and you talk about I can't think of them but off the top of my head right now, but I talk about them all the time on my show.
Visualization, meditation.
Yes, all those things. And I mean, so many people, there's so many just people that have experienced this healing power through this. And I've tried, and I'm kind of like you were. I feel like it sort of works like for my health, but at the same time I have this like doubt. And so that's fascinating that you say that, music, and I could maybe buy into that, and that's interesting. So I'm gonna have to look into that. Huh.
Oh, well, it's worked for millions of people. Our
Absolutely.
testimonials are real. We've got
Yeah.
people like Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, everyone, just video testimonials from people, how it's changed their life. Their children who had autism, who couldn't even speak or go out in public, they start playing the music for the kids, for the kiddies songs that I wrote. We've got little baby animals speaking before each song, saying where they're from in the world and if they're endangered and what they eat and how they're lovely to their parents. And then I have that little baby animal that I've done the voiceover for, because I can do even Woody Woodpecker if you want to hear me. It's the Woody Woodpecker show.
That's awesome.
And that album is a very, very beautiful album for kids. They just
Yeah.
love it. They love it.
That's amazing. And yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza was the one I was trying to think of, that
Ah,
just
right.
as, just people like that. And I do buy into that. I think the mind, and I think the mind is very powerful. And I think, you're right. I think you have to tie your emotions into it though, right?
Well, you
You're
don't have to if you do it through
no.
music. No.
Oh,
And when my visualization programs, I always put beautiful music under it to soothe you, but so you have a whole brain experience. So when I'm doing a guided meditation, you're hearing that with the left brain, but you're hearing the music. You have to ignite both sides, left and right side, and then it goes straight into your subconscious mind. You don't have to fight it. You don't have a chance for your mind to say, is this BS? Am I just fooling myself? Am I just trying to be Pollyanna? God only wishes everyone would try to be Pollyanna. If you really knew the story of Pollyanna, you'd realize she was a kid who changed the entire town into positivity.
that is fascinating. So let me ask you a question then. Your quote, the purpose of life is enlightenment, right? That's from you.
That is
What
from me.
what does that mean to you? What is that? Can you tell the audience and the listeners about that? What is that?
Oh, I'd love to. This is the yummiest. Are you listening, everybody? Are you listening? Really open your ears, open your heart, listen to this. This planet is a special creation for people to become awake. The Buddha said, become awake. You can call it enlightenment. You can call it whatever you choose to call it. But every single person has been a soul waiting to be reincarnated on this planet, because we have been given physicality, or you want to call it your avatar, your body. We've been given a special body that has amazing spiritual. It's not just that the mind is powerful, it's what is in us. At the bottom of our spine, I'll just use Tara. At the bottom of our spine, there is something called a kundalini. And I'll explain what kundalini is in a moment. And along, exactly parallel along where the spine, physical spine is, there's a tube that is blocked called the Sushumna. And it's real and it's there. And we have chakras that people think they're in the front, but they're actually at the back, except for when you get to the middle of the brain, that's the third eye. And of course, the crown chakra, where it has to jump. And the Kundalini is vibrating bubbles of light, ethereal light that is like it's there to clean the Sushumna. Because if the Sushumna isn't clean, you have this beautiful, let's use the metaphor of you, your soul, your higher self, which is immortal consciousness, never dies, never, maybe reborn in a different avatar or body. But this diamond is blocked. It's blocked from feelings, emotions, doubts, fears, hurts. So it's covered. And, the Buddhists would say, because you're veiled. Well, you look at it like that, it's like little blobs, and you want to pop them. But they go like a mind map of that experience keeps getting over and over again. You keep repeating the same old mistakes, and you know you're frustrated with it, but you don't know what to do because this needs to be cleaned. And to have this cleaned, it's so important that you find a teacher who is enlightened, who can transmit light to you. When a teacher transmits light, she is being, or he is being used like that. Once they're enlightened, it's always on. The light is always on, and you're just being used by the light. It's not that you understand everything in the world and you're omniscient. What's coming through you understands. And when the teacher transmits light, they connect you when you haven't been able to your divine presence. And when they pray for you, they're speaking to your divine presence. Your divine presence is omnipotent power. It can do anything that you intend for it to do. Go before me and prepare the way. This is an amazing day. You give it the intention. If you do all those affirmations and that's blocked, your divine presence is like in jail. Can't collect the $200. It can't go out and do it. So people, when they start learning the law of attraction and start getting into positive thinking, they lose all their enthusiasm because it's not happening yet, because this is still clogged. So it's going to be a slow journey to you having success, money, health, healing, unless this is unclogged. For me, because of the fact that I did so many of the affirmations nonstop, and I'd always been pretty unclogged and been able to manifest and create things just through my willpower. So I was very blessed that it wasn't too clogged. That's why millions of things kept happening for me over and over again until I felt soul sick. I felt this heart glow. I didn't know what it was, hadn't studied mysticism or metaphysics. So I started studying it. And because I was living in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, running Bob Proctor's business and my rock business from there, doing the affirmation songs as well, I started studying, going to Buddhist monks. I wanted to know what God was. I wanted to know what this feeling was. Is it spirit? I was brought up a Catholic. I actually loved the Catholicism when I was a girl, but then puberty hits and then rock and roll is all about, that's it. Anyway, so the Kundalini scrubs this clean, but it can only do it if you go into the silence and meditate as well. Because when you're in the silence, the mind, the chattering mind, the monkey mind, can't go back, can't go forward into the future. It has to stay in this moment. And that gives the energy an opportunity to come up. And if you have a teacher who is transmitting light, you start feeling the tingles through your brain. When I first met my enlightened teacher, I was like, what's that? What's that wave? I don't know what's going on here. And that's the teacher transmitting light with their intention. And that sort of draws up magnetically the Kundalini. And eventually certain chakras become activated. And then you'll have many, many like Kundalini rushes. That's not enlightenment. My Kundalini rushes went on for 2 years. And I went through something called the Stargate. Another couple of years later, I actually became enlightened. Never expected it to happen to me. How could it happen to a female rock singer from Australia? I'm no saint, ladies and gentlemen. I thought you had to be all saintly. But when you do the practice and you're blessed enough to find a teacher, anything is possible. So enlightenment is when the chakra, the crown chakra, has become activated. And once that's become activated, after many, many spiritual experiences, you can feel everything. The first time I could see 360 degrees around me, I thought I was going insane. And if it wasn't the fact that I had an enlightened teacher that I could speak to occasionally about this, but then once you're fully enlightened, you know you are. How do you know you are? It's the same as saying to a 9-month pregnant woman, are you sure you're pregnant? You just know.
That's interesting. You're talking about seeing in 360 degrees. That's stuff that people that have had near-death experiences talk about, and things of that nature, or even maybe possibly people that can like use their psychic ability. What's the word I'm looking for? Where they travel to like remote different locations, different dimensions. They talk about being able to see in 360 degrees. That's interesting that you mentioned that. And Let me ask you a question then. Do you feel that most people or the majority of people should try to have a teacher or an enlightenment, someone who can help them find enlightenment?
From all the studies I've done and from what I get downloaded after my many travels through that Stargate, where you get to meet some amazing, it's all done psychically, spiritual beings, and you're in the moment. Because I remember the first time I went through that Stargate and the buzzing and the rushing through my head. And it was like a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And I was like, what's going on? I've been meditating, and I was gazing a picture of Babaji. And I never expected it. It was amazing. But as soon as I realized I could see 360 degrees, I went shoo, back into my body. So when somebody leaves the body, but they end up coming back into the body from death, from a near death experience, well, it is actually death. It's like when you go through the Stargate, when you're enlightened, but you go all the way through to different dimensions and then another dimension, then another tunnel. Every time you go back in, you're in the moment. But the moment your mind starts thinking, you're back into your body because you're in the timelessness in these different dimensions. And so when somebody has left, because I've met so many on so many different dimensions, when your body, you're still connected to your body, you've gone through that Stargate experience. What happens is, to make people feel better, everything omnipresent, omniscient, divine that created all of this illusion knows. If you're a Christian, I'll give you an example. If you're a Christian, Jesus could come to you because the divine is omniscient, has created everything, and doesn't want to have Vajrapani come and scare the shit out of you, the Buddhist saint.
Yeah,
really.
it wants something you're going to connect with.
Yeah, and so that's why, this woman who never ever was really in self-realization, but she loved the picture of Yogananda. So she was about to commit suicide. This is a true story. And she had this big picture in her room all the time of Yogananda. And he appeared before her when she was just about to take all these sleeping tablets and commit suicide, and said, don't do that. Don't do that. Because the divine in her knew that that's what she related to. The only thing she'd ever related to as God was Yogananda Paramahansa. And angels will appear as well, but they are real angels, but they're not exactly how we depict them. But and then someone will come to them and say, are you ready? Do you want to go yet? Can you come back in? They don't go all the way through the Stargate. When you go all the way through the Stargate, you have left the body and you will go into a dimension, which the Buddhists talk about, which is where you get to sort of work things out before you're reborn again. And sometimes you're allowed to go into a heaven plane and experience what that's like, because you've lived a really good life, but you're still going to get reborn again. And that's actually a good thing, because then you still have another opportunity for enlightenment. Now, there are 3 types of enlightenment. There's the first type of enlightenment where you're awake, like the Buddha said. And then there's a Mahasiddha. A Mahasiddha was Yogananda, Lahiriya Mahasa. Babaji's an avatar, so that's just Jesus the Christ, Mahasiddha. They can appear in different places while they're still in the body. They can appear, they can become transformed after death and still appear to people. And that's very, very true. Or there's a Sri Ramakrishna. Ramana, great avatar. He became enlightened when he was only about 11, because he just decided, I'm going to die or get to God, that's it.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing, these are all real people that had these experiences. And I've been blessed to meet many of them over the years in consciousness. And what I do know is Yogananda had a teacher. He looked for a teacher for years, and eventually he knew. Like, I went all over the world looking for a teacher. As soon as I realized, my mind realized, I need to find someone who knows God. I didn't know really the word enlightenment. I just thought it was Jesus and Yogananda, and that's it. From my, didn't have much education, as I said, in mysticism. And so I didn't expect it. Eventually, after 14 years of searching, and I'd been to Japan 23 times, you name it, India, I found a woman, American woman. Actually, I think she's Canadian now, but anyway, we don't tell everybody that. And she's enlightened. And someone had told me about, I heard that this student of a great Mahasiddha became enlightened. She's young, apparently, come and, because people would come to me and they'd say, you can sort of feel the light, which I could. And so I went there because I've been looking at teachers of mysticism or whatever for years. And I could always feel, if I didn't feel a love for them, or I just felt like that they were being macho gurus, Indian men that, oh, isn't it a shame you're a woman? Maybe you could have become enlightened. Even Buddhist monks will say that to a woman.
Oh, that's rough.
So,
I don't know how you would buy into that. Even somebody who
I
would
didn't
claim to be enlightened themselves, how they
claim.
could say something like that about that. Yeah, I don't buy into that.
No, of course not. Well, I didn't either because I knew
Yeah,
it was BS.
right,
Because I knew that from like Yogananda loved his female students, and he saw many of them become enlightened and look after the self-realization center later, because he said they're more prone to have a belief because their heart will be more open than men, and so they're more open to actually becoming
right.
enlightened. But because of all these different Hindu, Buddhist, and the women are lower, like a low caste or something, or just because they're a woman, they have this DNA that they're just a woman. How could they? And Jesus had so many female students because he dug them more than the men. And he knew that they would understand him and he could be irreverent with them and beautiful with them. But if you're a very rare being and you have been enlightened many lifetimes, but you still choose to come back every time. And what's a fascinating thing right now is different people from different walks of life are becoming awakened. They're not all becoming teachers. And I think that's because when there's a time in the world where there isn't that sort of discrimination, there may still be in certain sectors, in Muslim countries, etc., which I lived in a Muslim country for 3.5 years. And I found that the true Muslim women were extremely high in consciousness. And I would study with anyone to teach me their prayers, or because I could feel if they were doing out of habit or because they had a real calling for the divine within them to awaken. And so if you've been awakened many times before, you don't need a teacher because you can feel it. You start meditating by the time you're 4 or 5. But if you're not, you haven't been awakened before, a lot before, well, then a teacher will make it, you go up. It's hard. If anyone says it's an easy path, they're trying to sell you something. It's not easy, but it can be done. Obviously, it can be done. So I'm celebrating my 13th year of enlightenment this year.
Let me ask you a question. And I kind of want to know where you credit or where do you believe you get your thoughts from? Is it your teacher? Is it your experience? Is it a combination of things? Because you're like my 125th interview, and I've interviewed a lot of people that claim to be gurus and people that are enlightened or psychic mediums, and I interview all kinds of people. I talk to all kinds of people. I study, I read a lot, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and you and I'm not just saying this because you're on my show, but you seem to be on another level of somebody I've never really talked to. You have an understanding of things, or at least you come across as you have an understanding of things, and you're fascinating. But where do you attribute that from? Like, where do you get that where's your source of information coming from?
From enlightenment, from the divine, from the omniscient wisdom that has created everything. It's fascinating to me. I'll be speaking to a student or something will happen, or a stranger, and it's like on a need to know basis. That's all I can say. When someone asks a question, there'll be, I've never heard the question, I don't know the answer, and it just comes through me from the divine directly, not from some person who's stuck in, whoop whoop land because they've left the body and they just want to use someone as a channel. That's very dangerous, actually. But and you just know it because it comes. And so many times I've said, wow, that's fascinating. I didn't know that. And when I'm about to write a book, or it's just like when I used to write my music, I just still write music. I just put out another new album. But I'm going to write about something. I don't have to plan any talk I ever do. I don't have to ever plan anything. I just focus on what has to be said and meditate in silence. And then, bam, camera's action, it just comes through me. And I can feel at a very weird level, it's hard to explain. Every single, when I'm doing my large Zooms, for example, or when I've done my live events before the lockdown, I can feel every single person in the room and see who they are. If someone looks happy, but I can feel that they're not, I can immediately say, "What's up, honey?" And then they start crying and tell me what it is. Or if someone's sort of looking sad, but I know they're not sad, they're just focused on what you're saying. And I'll say, "You're really focused, you're really getting this." And if someone's sort of like, thinking about lunch, then I'll make funny jokes will come through me and I'll be like, "Okay, we're going to have a salad soon. You are hungry, right?" So it's really funny how you can speak to everyone, and it's sort of like a tapestry that's being woven through me, through my consciousness. Because my intention before I teach or go anywhere is always that it's filled with oscillating high frequency of light, and that everyone that comes into that room will be healed of something, because there's always something in someone's body they don't even know is there that can be dissolved before they even have to know it's there. There's always some sort of thing, because the world of humanity is suffering. The Buddha was correct. People are oscillating up and down. They're in a high vibration because something great's happened, but then they start being afraid. What if I lose what I just got? Or what if I don't get what I want? And so there's always fear involved. And it's my job and my great privilege to release that fear and to do whatever I can in words, action, or prayer or meditation to make sure that that diamond becomes clear and that they start feeling that hum in their heart 24/7, that just is pure love. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that I don't suffer too sometimes, but it's from compassion and love. I spoke to a student just an hour ago who was going through some horrible things, and I just felt every cell of her being, and I burst into tears because I knew who she really was and how she could be released from this crap she was going through. So after an hour, finally she was released of it, but that was a tough one, and I did feel quite drained afterwards. But then I knew I was going to speak to you, so I just go into meditation for a minute, put on some lipstick, and just say, "Okay, I'm going to be just a light for Dylan's audience. That's it. I'm just going to get out of the way, smile, and just be a conduit for what needs to be said or doesn't need to be said." And also, of course, I've done a lot of study. Remember, I was with an enlightened teacher for 12 years. So, of course, that influence, she doesn't teach anymore, that influences you a lot because she's American, she's irreverent. I mean, a rock singer couldn't have a better enlightened teacher. I didn't need a saint. Who wants to be a saint? You want to live your life fully and be able to do creative things, not just assist other people, but have a good life. I just planted a new garden. It's given me so much joy. And I'm in the mountains and there's squirrels and rabbits. I feel like I'm not Alice in Wonderland. I'm not down any rabbit hole, but I feel like and I wrote this down years ago, that I would find a place like this to live where there's no one around. I haven't even seen a car once today already. And it's like my little ashram with my cats and the animals. And I just want to live here forever. But I love also doing my events where we still sing. We do the rock stuff. Sometimes I have dances, but we also go into meditation. You can't just be focused on serious stuff all the time and just be quiet. You've got to bring in the joy. The joy brings up the oscillation and the frequency. So then when you do the meditation with people, they're in a great state of consciousness and they
Love
feel
that.
happy.
I love
They feel
that.
happy. Yeah.
I think that's great advice. I do think that people in the world needs to be more joyous and loving and just like a higher vibration like you talk about. Now, do you credit any of this to your musical background, or do you think that your music, perhaps the type of person you are, um, I don't know, influences your musical background? Because what I mean by that is because you had mentioned about writing music and that sometimes it doesn't even perhaps come from you. Now, when I talk to other musicians, which I've talked to quite a few, believe it or not, even though I'm a paranormal podcast host, musicians seem to come on my show quite often. They talk about how when they write music that they don't think it comes from them, that a lot of times that it is from source or it's from somewhere else other than themselves. And I've heard that from authors as well.
Yeah, well, it depends. I've got to be honest, always. When I first started writing songs, they were lousy, Dylan. It is something that there may be some magically gifted people like Mozart, that just got downloaded every perfect note straight off the bat from the divine. But with me, it was like when we decided we're not going to do a cover band anymore, the record companies and different people are saying, you guys are great, you've got bigger audiences, you got to start doing, you know, uh, writing songs. So when I started writing songs, they were terrible, terrible. And, but you just have to do it every day. So I would do it after the gig, or when we had to do a long road trip to get to the next gig, we would all do it as the band, and I ended up finding quite a few different collaborators within the bands that I was in to assist me, who were really good musicians. But so after writing many, many crappy songs, you have to be consistent. It's like writing books. You do it consistently, you write every day, your creative juices, then they begin to flow, because it's almost like your higher self says, enough already. Okay, here's a song. This is a good one. And the first time that happened to me, it was crazy. It was just like straight off the bat. Now that we've found love, there's nowhere to hide. And I kept singing, and the melody and the music came together, and it was this incredible ballad. And I was just blown away. It just came all at the same time. And after that, I would still write crappy songs, don't get me wrong, but then once a month, say, or once every 6 weeks, then a good one will come out. And I'd be like, come on, let's record this.
So
So
awesome.
that's my experience to start with. Nah, terrible.
So what drives you and motivates you to do this type of work? Because there's obviously you have this calling, but like there's got to be something that's just pushing you and driving you, because you seem like you're at like 110% right now.
Yeah, well, it's just that I have so much energy all of the time, because the light is filling every cell of my being, and you feel it all the time. And as I said, it doesn't mean that I don't have my times where I'm feeling so much compassion that I don't know if it's sadness, but it's like you get drained because people want this so much. They're like, I want it, give it to me, give it to me. So I always have to look after myself. I exercise every single day, every single day. I eat a great keto diet. I look after myself. I'm with beautiful animals, and I keep myself in a positive state of mind at all times. And I really can't feel sad about anything to do with my life. I don't even think about my life. I just love creating. I can't stop creating. And just recently, we created, it took about a year and a half, not just recently, an app. I've been wanting to do apps like meditation apps and stuff for ages. We just finished doing an app that's got like over 63 spoken affirmations, but with the music underneath. So you get a whole brain experience. And one of my affirmation songs that has helped so many people is called I'm a Magnet to Money. Money, money loves me. And the reason I find it so irreverent and funny is because would rather talk about their sex lives than money, because they're like, I don't want to talk about money. I don't want people to know I don't have it, or that I've got too much, they might want it. So being irreverent about money, and the Magnet to Money song is our most popular song ever. We just get hundreds of thousands of people listening to it. When we look at our Apple and everything later, they just love it so much. And other people have done it in different languages. A record producer from the UK recently approached me and said, I went and saw Marcy Shermoff and someone else in England, and they were playing your music. And I said, who's this woman? I love that Magnet to Money song. I want to make it into a dance hit. So who's going to make it into a dance hit? He used to be with Stock Aitken and Waterman. So these things keep happening. So I keep doing music. The Magnet to Money app, it's magnettomoniapp.com, is so fun. It's got all the affirmations as well as the Magnet to Money song notifications, ringtones. Huge amount of work in developing, getting the right developers to do an app. I had no idea, but I love it because it's a totally different genre. And I'm now one of the new experts in the Alexa, Amazon, Living Positively. They chose me and Deepak Chopra, Gary Zukav, a few other people. And we're doing all these great little snippets of my affirmation songs, plus talking about karma and what is enlightenment. And it's just, I love technology, how you can bring all this beautiful, enlightened, beautiful positivity to everyone for free.
Yeah, to the masses, right? To
Yeah.
global, just like that. Yeah, that's amazing. Um, so your website, what kind of things does your website offer? Because your website offers some things for people, right?
Well, I have ridiculous amount of websites because I've got a ridiculous amount of products. But what we're going to do for your audience is give them my best-selling products for free, because I would love you guys to at least listen to the music, listen to the magnetic visualization, so you can visualize your life as you want it to be. It's got my best-selling video, the practice of meditation, because you're just practicing until the eternal starts meditating you, and my best-selling book, The Magic of Affirmation Power, and 3 of Bob Proctor left the body last year, but I worked with him for years, and 3 of our best-selling affirmation songs that we just loved, and people just love them. So you can listen to Persistence, I'm Magnet to Money, Success, all that stuff for free if you go to Michele Blood, Michele Blood, BLOOD.com/, of course, In Search of Reality, micheleblood.com, In Search of Reality, / In Search of Reality, for Dylan's beautiful audience.
Awesome.
You're open and receptive. That's why a lot of musicians want to come on your show, because
Yes, guys, check it out.
musicians are open to the magic.
Yes. Yes. And then you have you have a podcast, right? Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast. Is that you still
No,
doing
that's
that?
not me. I've been on over 1,000 podcasts
Oh,
lately.
that's not you. Were you're not on that podcast then? I thought
I'm
I
on
seen
that.
that on your web. Yeah.
I'm on lots of podcasts all the
Yeah.
time.
Maybe you're on
Millions.
that one then. I thought I seen that on your website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
put the podcast that I'm on, I put on my website so that everyone can listen to all you beautiful people and learn about you. You come on my Zooms, introduce you to everyone from 26 different countries when we have our free Zooms and everything. I love to support the podcasters that are bringing positivity in the world and that are assisting for me to get my message out there. So I do all I can for everyone to know about you guys, because I just think it's just an incredible thing, and it's very challenging to start something like that. I had a TV show years ago called Empower TV, getting all the guests and the interviewers, and oh goodness me, it's so much work. So I said, no, I'll be interviewed, but I'm not doing interviews anymore, because it's hard work.
It is hard work, and especially I know, like, starting as like a no name like I did. I mean, I'm over 2 years in. I'm just now starting to pick up steam. It takes time. It's a grind. It's definitely a grind.
Yeah, but you're doing
But
something really good. You're opening
yeah,
people's minds.
yeah, it's worth it. It's definitely worth the hard work. Uh, What so I love how you mentioned meditation, and I ask a lot of my guests this on my show because I think meditation is very important, and I really want my audience to kind of understand and just get everybody's take and perspective on it, because I think everybody's is a little different. Can you maybe talk a little bit about meditation with everyone, and kind of the importance of it and kind of what it does for, I think, the individual?
First of all, no one really meditates until the eternal through them and your diamonds clear starts meditating you, unless you have a teacher who's meditating you by transmitting light to you. So meditation, if you just want to do it for health, it lowers your blood pressure. It helps strengthen your immune system. It releases stress. I've had doctors come to my events wanting to learn about meditation because they're telling their heart patients, you've got to meditate. And they're like, I don't know how to meditate. I better learn. And so the way I teach it is the way my teacher taught me. And because it worked, you don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so I get them to meditate on certain chakras, and I just give them the information so that, as we said earlier, the Kundalini can come up and clear them. because the idea of meditation is to have no thought. When you have no thought, you're in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you are beyond the Maya, beyond the illusion, beyond the dimension that is so crazy. The world is beautiful, but people are crazy because they haven't awakened yet. They think it's like the age of enlightenment, but it is not. It is still a dark age. There is so much going on this planet that is still not evolved. But anyone can evolve. It's very, very challenging if you're brought up in a culture where, but karmically, you're brought into certain circumstances, and like my car accident, you'd think, wow, horrible thing happened to her. No, I had all that experience to be able to do my true life's purpose. And that's why I love doing what I do, because the divine chooses who's going to do what. It's all predestined in so many ways, but there can be one decision you make just because you feel crappy that day and you don't feel like going to work, or you don't feel like showing up for your podcast, or whatever it is, can change the whole direction of your life. You've got to keep on keeping on. You've got to never give up. You've got to do something every day that allows you to feel thankful for your life. Stop being it all about me. Whenever you hear yourself complaining, whenever you're complaining, it's fear. So you ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing that I really, really, really love that I have? Is it a boyfriend, a husband, money? What am I afraid of not getting? And you've got to stop worrying about what other people think of you. They're not thinking of you. They're thinking of themselves. So get more confident. Just walk barefoot in the park. Be yourself. Don't ask people's opinions. Don't ask people that don't know how to play piano, in other words.
Yeah, that's beautiful advice. Wow. Well said. Well said. Well, I don't necessarily want to keep you, but I just feel like there's so many things we could cover, and I could just talk to you for hours because your knowledge you're deep. You're a deep thinker. And I think there's a lot that, people can learn from you. And I love what you're doing, for the world and the message you're giving. Maybe where can people like check your work out, find you, get a hold of you if they need to, that kind of thing, to be enlightened, hopefully.
Well, I've got students from all over the world, musicians, doctors, dentists, homemakers, you name it. And they go to themysticalexperience.com, themysticalexperience.com. Tons of free stuff, videos about every topic mystically that you could think of. What is karma? How do I burn karma? Is it a good thing? No, there's no such thing as good karma. People don't understand what it actually is. Talk about reincarnation, about past life stuff, about who you truly are, about your immortal consciousness. And other times I might just have a video that I'm teaching someone how to write a book, because I learned how to write a book, and I think everyone can easily learn how to write a book. So I started a whole book writing course. I teach people about success in business, how to run a business like a successful rock band. I don't think every single area of life is spiritual. And so if someone's having lack of money, I want to do everything I can to assist them to start manifesting, creating wealth, multiple streams of income. I love teaching everything because it's all God, it's all mysticism, and everyone deserves to be happy, including you.
That's beautifully said. Thanks again for taking the time to do this.
I'm happy to come back and we can go into much deeper
Oh,
conversation.
please
I would
do.
love to, because I really love what you're doing. And I feel that you are about to go through a doorway of success that is going to assist you. And perhaps next time we speak, you may wish to email me privately and let me know what your goals or intentions are that haven't happened yet. And maybe we can have like a 20-minute conversation before the podcast, and let me just give you a little bit of advice, or just some light, or whatever would be something, because that's my way of giving back to you.
That's awesome. And I really do appreciate that. I think, again, my hat's off to people like you, just, out there spreading the light. And that's kind of what this podcast is for, is to just just to share, everybody's, beautiful ideas and visions of enlightenment and lifting people's spirits up in at times, like you said, a dark world. Um, Thank you again. And yeah, I definitely want to have you back on because I just feel like there's just so much we need to cover. But again, I try to keep my shows within an hour just to kind of keep everybody's, focus and I know you're busy. I don't want to keep you. Uh Thanks again. And yeah, I would definitely ask, to have you back on because
God bless you. And as we say, g'day, mate. More love.
awesome. Thanks.
See you, Nate. Nice bloke. You're a lovely bloke.